and welcome back to another episode of the Boropolis Podcast. As always, I'm with Nathan. Now, before we start, I think Nathan, I'm not sure if he wants to make a formal apology or whether he just wants to tell everyone where he's been. Nathan, I'll just let you tell everyone where you've been this weekend. It wasn't Portugal again.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't Portugal again. But yeah, as we said last week, I was not going to be attending the Blackburn game this past weekend. I was at Leeds Festival singing my lungs out for Liam Gallagher, Stormzy and Post Malone. So yeah, excuse me if I'm coughing and spluttering during this podcast. I am currently just struggling with a massive cold. It's horrific.
Yeah, we'll take it easy on you, Nathan. And of course, this is probably going to go up a little bit later, but we'll just blame that on Nathan as well. So any abuse for that, just send it towards Nathan. No, I'm kidding. Don't send any abuse to Nathan, please. So the game that you did miss, Nathan, we're going to have to sort of swap roles this week, and you're going to have to ask me more questions. Now, you have watched the highlights and watched the game back, but it was Blackburn on Saturday. And to be honest, I'm going to pass it over to you now because you really need to ask me about the game, don't you?
Yeah, so starting off with the team sheet. So Uche not in the starting 11 this week after we said last week about him being substituted at 60, 70 minutes every week. Was that a shock for you, Chris?
Yeah, when the team come out, obviously it was very unexpected, but from what we've heard and seen from Warnock over the past couple of days, obviously it turns out it was illness and nothing more sinister than that, or a lengthy injury. So that's positive news, really. But yeah, apart from that, I think it was probably the team everyone expected. It was nice to see Duncan Watmore back and obviously Marcus Tavernier as well. So those were positives. Yeah, it was the team that everyone was sort of expecting, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it's a bit of a strange one for me looking at it with Mark Bowler not in the starting 11.
Of course, so, yes. Yeah, of course. I've just skipped over that. Bowler was a shock, actually, now that you ask. I'm not used to being asked the question.
Yeah, a notable one, I think. And it leads to the point of us in the last few weeks talking about needing a backup left back, but we'll move on to that later on. So, yeah, in the opening stages of the game, Borough looked to be on top, but Blackburn were the ones that took the lead with Sam Gallagher. Can you just sum up their goal for me, Chris, please?
It was a screamer, wasn't it, really? I think that's the best way to describe it. Obviously, there was a little bit of a muddle up in our defence, the gap between the midfield and defence, and it felt like Gallagher. And I don't think if he'd hit 100 shots on the day, he could have really hit a better one, smashed it in off the post. I don't think Joe Lumley stood a chance, really. And, fair play. It was a great finish, really.
Yeah, it was a rocket, wasn't it? Yeah, so I think that was a bit of a shock for me when I was at the festival.
When you were frantically trying to get a bit of signal to see what the score was.
Yeah, looking at my phone, hoping for a little bit of data to pop up with that. And yeah, Gallagher 1-0. I just thought, oh, here we go. But yeah, we quickly got the equaliser. Johnny Howson, who is back in the side after that QPR game over a week ago now. And yeah, a bit of redemption for him with his goal.
Yeah, I think firstly, I just want to mention now, we've been singing his praises in the start of the season. Anthony Dyke still, not only is he a great defender, but also found his inner Xavi, to be honest, with that pass straight through the heart of the Blackburn defence. I think they'd gone on holiday, really, the Blackburn defence. I don't know how there was so much space, but it was a great ball by Dyke and even better run by Howson. And obviously, when he went through on goal, I wasn't too confident. But in fairness to Johnny, what a finish. A delightful chip it was in off the post. And like Uche, we've mentioned it previously, he loved that celebration. Really...
Do you want to know what? I'm loving the Borough celebrations this season so far. They all love it.
Do you know what? I like the passion. Uche's running into the crowd and just really giving it large, and then housing it the weekend as well. Yeah.
Loving it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loving it. In front of the East Stand as well, which was a bit strange, actually, to see us kicking towards the North Stand in the first half.
Yeah. Do you know what? I went to the game with my mum. My dad was elsewhere watching my brother. And I said, well, I mean, she's, to be fair, this season, bless her, she's come to more games than my dad. But I said, you know what, honestly, when we kick off from that side and we move ends to start off, we always get beat. And to be fair, we didn't get beat. So I'm quite pleased with that. But yeah, it was a little bit strange seeing us score in the other end, really, compared to what we used to. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I say, it was a great finish from Howson.
Yeah, so just a quick one as well. So we didn't get beat at that end, like you've just said. So it must have been a cheeseburger, surely.
I know where you're going with this, yeah. Well, Nathan, obviously you weren't at the game, so that was one part of the little ritual that we thought might have a big impact on the results. And I can confirm that I did go for the cheeseburger again. I even got into my seat, took the photo of it, left it in my camera roll, ready in case we'd won. It was going straight on Twitter, like we promised. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be, and the photo of the cheeseburger was quickly deleted after full time.
Yeah, so, yeah.
The powers of the cheeseburger is not as what we thought they were, really. Maybe it's something else.
Yeah, it's gutting, really. I mean, it could be just a standard burger. It could be one of the rancid hot dog in a bun that they do in the Riverside, but
Yeah.
it certainly won't be Parmos in a bun, I don't think.
Yeah, well, that is something that we've got to mention, of course. Now, we get a lot of tweets to the account, and one that we got the other day was someone atting Boropolis and asking why the Parmo in the bun isn't at the Riverside at the moment. Now, my guess is as good as whoever tweeted it. Sorry, I can't remember who it was, but yeah, I don't have any information or inside info on the supply chain of the Riverside, so I can't really give any insight as to why the palm in the bun isn't there. But hopefully, fingers crossed for whoever tweeted and yourself, Nathan, that it's back soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, we do have our sources with Yannick Balassi, but we do not know why Parmos in a buns have not been in the Riverside this season.
I don't think Yannick knows either, to be honest. We
Well,
could ask him, but no, I don't think he'll know.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, back onto the game anyway. So, yeah, we've got down here that there was a much better tempo about Borough in this game, and that we did seem to dominate a lot of the game in that second half as well in terms of chances. So, can you just sum up as many chances as there were for Borough, the big ones for me, Chris, please?
Yeah, I mean, I put tempo down on the notes just in the first half, really. Now, I thought we were out the blocks really quickly again. And to be fair, I would say that the Blackburn goal sort of come against the run of play, really, you know, with Watmore up top and his presence and his energy, and Tavernier as well. We looked more threatening, obviously, Isaiah Jones again down that left. But in terms of chances, obviously, we did probably our best chances, I'd say, come in the second half. And there was the Olasanya chance. I know we'll sort of go deeper into the game as we go on. But yeah, in terms of tempo, it was as good as a first half, probably in a 30-minute spell that I'd seen us all season. And I think Warnock echoed that really in his post-match press conference and said he was delighted with the way that we played, really.
Yeah, I mean, from everything I've seen, it seems positive, really. It seems that we were the better side throughout a lot of the game. And yeah, I think could we have won the game maybe?
I think there was obviously chances, and I tweeted out after the game in our little post-match tweet saying that arguably we could have had three, but obviously it was only the one. And a few people, in fairness, disagreed with that. But for me, watching the game, I thought we were on the front foot for a lot of it. And yeah, there was definitely chances for us to win the game. As I say, the Olasanya chance from the Tavernier shot that arguably could have and should have probably gone in. But yeah, I think overall it was probably a fair result. But if we'd have nicked the 3 points, I don't think anyone could have really complained, to be honest.
Yeah, and of course, during the game there was two big incidents in terms of red cards. There was at first in the 79th minute, Hayden Carter with a second yellow. He was sent off for a high boot on Paddy Mcnair. I don't think there can be any questions on that one. Really, I think it's a definite red card from what I've seen. I don't know about you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean the first one was a late challenge on Isaiah Jones, I think it was, and the second one, ironically enough, it was a high boot against Blackburn again. I mean, luckily there wasn't as much damage as there was Dale Fry last season, but yeah, I don't think really even the Blackburn fans could complain at that. Like you say, it was a high boot and it's dangerous play at the end of the day, so it's definitely a yellow card.
Yeah, and then only a matter of 2 minutes later, Sam Morsey, who I thought was probably our man of the match last week at Derby, got sent off for a straight red card. From what I've seen, it doesn't look like a yellow. It looks like the referee's had an absolute shocker.
Yeah, I mean, from my angle, it was a little bit, when you sort of look back, even now, I'm struggling to really find what the referees saw, and obviously his boot is slightly high, but I mean that's sort of what you expect from Sam Morsey, and he's a tenacious midfielder, and obviously he's going to try and get his foot in when he can. And I mean, yes, it was probably a little bit high, but I think a yellow card would have been more than deserved. I think a red was probably a little bit harsh, even with my Middlesbrough bias, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a strange one from the referee's perspective. Warnock came out in his post-match interview and said that the referee had said to the fourth official that Sam Morsey had gone in with a straight leg with the full intention to, in inverted commas, do the opposition player.
Yeah.
And I think he's way off with that interpretation, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think that interpretation, if I can get my words out, I'm meant to be the one with the normal voice. Your voice is meant to go. No, as I was saying, I think it was harsh again, and I think it just about sums it up. I'm sure you're probably seeing in the post-match stuff that Warnock said, I'm going to change my approach this week. I'm going to go up to the fourth official, go up to the referee and calmly say, can I speak to you 30 minutes after kick-off? And 29 minutes and a half later, he was stood outside his door and the referee had already gone. So I think that speaks volumes, to be honest, as to his performance.
Yeah, so just having a look at Borough's opening start to the season now. 5 games played, 1 win against Bristol City, 3 draws, and a defeat against Queen's Park Rangers. I think now going into that first international break, it's an okay start, but I don't know, looking at that, whether we have room for improvement or whether we have. I don't think it's necessarily a fair reflection, really, of our performances so far. I don't know about you.
I think obviously with the draws, as you say, Derby, I think the game was there to be won, and we probably should have won. There was the Crooks header off the bar, and there was the other big chance as well. But again, with Blackburn, there was chances to win. I just think possibly the squad is very thin, and obviously the likes of Crooks has had no rest, really. Ikpeas, who obviously until the weekend had no rest. And I think, obviously, we're going to get onto it later again, with a few additions earlier on in the window, perhaps we would have seen a slightly improved points tally at this stage, and we could have made substitutions to affect the game. I mean, Chuba Akpom come on against QPR, and he's no longer a Middlesbrough player. So, well, he may officially be a Middlesbrough player, but he's back to Greece on loan. So yeah, we'll get onto that as well. But substitutions in the squad in general, I think they've probably played a bigger part than what some may have thought for the results so far.
Yeah. So just looking at the league table there, with 1 win, 3 draws and 1 loss, that point at Fulham looks outstanding so far, with Fulham top in the Championship. They've won all 4 of their other games.
It gets better
Yeah.
by the week, doesn't it? After every Fulham result, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like an outstanding point, really. The Fulham, I think they've won every other game in the division by 2 or more goals. So yeah, that looks like an outstanding point. But yeah, I think there is room for improvement from Borough, and hopefully with some signings on deadline day, that they'll hopefully be gelled in during the international break and ready for Coventry.
Yeah, and just another point that I want to make just before we go on to transfers and we can sort of switch roles, and I'll be asking you the questions again. We reverted back to a back five at the weekend with wing backs, and just a player specifically in that back five that I just want to highlight, Paddy Mcnair. Now, I know there was a slight debate last week when we spoke about what position he really is best used in, and do we think he affects the game enough from midfield? For me, and like Warnock said last year, I think he's an excellent defender, and the back three really suits him, or back five, whichever way you want to look at it. And I thought he looked so much more relaxed and just back to the Paddy Mcnair that we know really at the weekend. There was a few times where he managed to sort of really copy the style of Sheffield United in the Premier League and sort of overlap as that wide centre back in the three. And yeah, it was just nice to see him bombing on from the back three again. I think moving forward, even in a back two, I think that's Paddy McNair's best position, definitely in defence rather than in midfield.
Yeah, I think a lot of championship sides have reverted to that back three and have players in there that are good ball carriers that come out of defence and look to integrate themselves into the play in the midfield and getting forward. So yeah, McNair looks like a player that could do that for us. He is a good ball carrier, having played midfield for most of his career. So yeah, it could be a good move, but just using him in that back three. He's had his chance in midfield so far, and I think it's fair to say that he hasn't really impressed in there. So yeah, that back three looks to suit him a lot better, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Now on to the fun part. We are recording this slightly later than we usually would, but tomorrow is deadline day. But I mean, over the past week, I'm sure you're trying to keep up to date as best you could when you were at Leeds. There's been all sorts of new links, even a new signing since you've been away. And first one really that we need to talk about is Arnell Hernandez. Now, Saturday morning, early doors, it was released that we'd agreed a deal from, and everyone was quite excited. But you know, with Middlesbrough, you can't get too upbeat straight away, as we've seen this window. But that is one deal, and what a nice change, really. Rumoured in the morning, and by after the game, really. I mean, we saw him at the Riverside for the game, but after the game, it was announced. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that signing straight away?
Yeah, very strange of Borough to do business as quick as that was. I think the press have struggled to get the hands on that one. But yeah, Hernandez has been a player in the Championship in recent years that I think a lot of Championship fans have really liked. He's struggled in recent years with injuries, which has been rather unfortunate. Yeah. But from what I've seen of him in recent times, not last season, in Norwich's previous Championship promotion season, they come around thick and fast, Norwich Championship promotion.
Well, it seems to be every other year, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, they were outstanding in that season, and Hernandez did play a rather large part in that. He's got pace and trickery down that left-hand side, and he does like to chip in with a few goals. So, yeah, hopefully that Arnell will be our new left midfielder and will rival Isaiah Jones for that position.
Yeah, and I mean, as you probably saw from the announcement, he loves Argos now.
He does.
I want to find out a little bit more about the Argos story and the reasons why he's so obsessed with Argos, really, because it's a bit of a strange one. And I think, to be honest, obviously he is Cuban. And I was thinking about this the other day, could Arnell, or is Arnell Hernandez the first Cuban to play for Middlesbrough?
Oh, he's got to be, surely.
He's got to be, because I seen a stat. I was looking back at a few things the other day, and I think he was the first Cuban to score in the Premier League. So I definitely can't think of any. And I would say my knowledge is pretty good. But yeah, I cannot remember any Cubans playing for us in the past. So I mean, there's a little
he's got to
title
be
for him straight away.
Yeah, he's got to be. I think he was the first Cuban to play in the Premier League himself. So I'm sure we haven't had a Cuban playing for us unless we're missing someone.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think he looks like a very good signing, having played in the Premier League in recent years as well. And that photo of him with the championship trophy last year and his big Cuban cigar looks fantastic.
Yeah, what a photo. I'm slightly disappointed that wasn't used to announce him, to be honest. But yeah, I think in terms of the signing, as you say, it's everything what we needed, really, that pace and directness in the team. And I think as well as that, it's so important that now we've got another winger. And of course, Isaiah Jones has been fantastic. But even at the weekend, you saw teams starting to double up on Jones and people are starting to realise the threat that he possesses. So it's going to be nice to have a winger on either side that, you know, can run at a full back and not just to have our team as a one-trick pony, really, because I think we said last week that the tactics were starting to become pass it to Jones and hope for the best. But now we've got two wingers, so there's that threat and just taking a little bit of reliance off Jones, really. And as I say, yeah, it's just going to be nice to have some pace in the team.
Yeah, I think the difference as well with Hernandez, I'm sure he's right-footed. So yeah. Jones being heavily left-footed, he seems to go down that left a lot and try and put a ball into the box. Having a right-footed player on that left-hand side will offer us something a bit different, someone who can cut inside.
Well, you see saying this, Nathan, but now it's probably more so a point on how good Isaiah Jones is, but I'm thinking that he's actually right-footed.
Who is Jones?
Yeah. Now, I know he plays off the left and he is excellent getting at his man and going off either foot. So, I mean, that's fair play to Isaiah Jones for that. But, yeah, I mean, we'll just say he's two-footed, to be honest.
Do you want to know what? This is what I'm saying. It seems like I'm giving him a massive compliment here if he's right-footed, because when he goes down that left...
He looks just as strong on his left as he does on his right. I can see why you would probably think that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the crosses into the box off his left peg are brilliant. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, more credit to Isaiah Jones, but thoroughly deserved. Thoroughly? I'm trying to get my words out, Nathan. What is going on? As I say, you're the one that's been away at Leeds shouting God knows what. So, I mean...
God knows what, yeah, exactly. Just singing my heart out.
Exactly, yeah. Now, on to another signing that has been, it seems like, been rumoured since...
forever.
The early 80s, to be honest. Andras Sporar. Now, it's been on, it's been off. There's been problems with tax. There's been problems with his wages. It finally looks as though it's going to be completed. Now, as of recording, he hasn't been announced yet. But surely this one is going to get over the line.
I mean, it's Borough. It's Borough. Until he's in the shirt, it's not done.
That quote is just, it terrifies me, really, because if we don't announce him now, the backlash and the meltdown on Twitter is going to be horrible to see tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we all know that Borough are going to wait until 11 o'clock tomorrow to announce it, just to have everyone on strings. Yeah. But yeah, we're just that type of club to just hold everyone on strings.
We are. Yeah. Now, in terms of talking about it's Middlesbrough, that quote that you just said, it is Middlesbrough. Typical Borough fashion. We spoke of Mitchell van Bergen on the podcast last week. And up until the 11th hour, it looked like we were going to have ourselves a new Dutch winger who had received great reviews from a lot of Dutch fans, from his FIFA card, more importantly. And obviously it got us excited. We'd watch the YouTube videos, as you do. At the last minute, Mr. Van Bergen decided he was instead fancying going to France, and that one didn't go through now. Do you think that Neil Warnock's "it's got now to do with me" comments may have actually had a deciding factor, or do you think Van Bergen ultimately just decided he preferred frogs' legs as opposed to Parmo's?
Yeah, I was just about to say exactly the same thing. Pan of chocolates over Parmo's in it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
it's a debatable one, to be fair, because you can't go wrong with one of them, really, can you?
you can't go wrong with a Parmo though.
Yeah, very,
You've
very
got to
true.
support the Parmo, and especially with a Teesside garlic sauce. But yeah, anyway, Mitchell Van Bergen
Yeah,
back onto the man himself. So yeah, he's opted for France. Fair enough to him. He's probably receiving a bit more money over there than he is over here. And with Warnock's comments, hopefully he didn't get too upset with Warnock's comments. Who knows? But it seems in the papers and in the rumour mill that a lot of things go against what Warnock says. And I cannot see why, still to this day, after that comment last week, now to do with me
yeah,
and about European players, I still do not understand why we keep getting linked with European players. And here we are with apparently a deal being agreed for, try not to butcher his name, James Leah Siliki.
yeah. I think you've done well there, to be honest. I was going to try to pronounce it, but I'm glad that you've gone for it, to be honest.
Yeah, so central midfielder, if I'm not wrong, from Rennes, who played in the Champions League last season. He's
Yeah,
25 and he's a Cameroonian international.
and
So
left-footed as well, something that we don't have in our midfield. Always nice to have a left footer for a bit of balance in there.
yeah, well, I didn't know that. So yeah, I mean, there's been reports of him being on a flight to Teesside, on a flight to Spain. Who knows where he is? So we'll see tomorrow, hopefully, where
Yeah.
James Leah Saliki is.
Well, it's of course it's a signing that he's received again a lot of reviews, and we can't pretend to be experts in French football, so I can't really make a huge judgment on it. I think I'd be lying if I said that I knew what type of player he was and I'd seen a lot of him. But yeah, again, he's played in the Champions League, and for the age he is, it's quite an achievement, really. So that is obviously it's nice to be linked with that type of caliber of player, really.
Yeah, but of course it does go against Warnock's comments from last week saying about European players. So
Maybe Nathan, he was just trying to have us all on. Maybe that was the plan all along. He's just playing mind games again.
he probably has, and tomorrow will probably announce Barra, Saliki, and Van Bergen. I don't even know if Van Bergen's been announced.
He has.
He has.
Do you know
Oh well.
why? Because I mean, in fairness to Van Bergen, he made his debut last night, and ironically enough, it was against PSG. And I seen a nice photo at the end of the game of Van Bergen and Lionel Messi having a little
Wow.
a chat at the end of the game. So I mean, there's his decision really in a nutshell. He could have been coming off the pitch. I don't know who in the championship is
Could
of
have been
caliber.
could have been coming off the pitch in 2 weeks' time playing against Martin Waghorn and Callum O'Hare.
Yeah,
But instead he's playing Lionel Messi, Neymar,
big
all
big
the
Kyle
all the rest of them.
McFadden. Yeah, he could have been coming off with his arm around big Kyle McFadden for Coventry. But I mean, each to their own, I suppose. Obviously, Lionel Messi.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kyle McFadden's probably better than Marquinhos anyway.
Yeah, it's
So,
probably just about. We'll
so
get
yeah.
on to him a little bit later. But yeah, another in that has been rumoured, and I know you've got quite strong opinions on this. Oliver Burke, Football Insider. They've been, to be fair, very reliable this summer on most things to do with Middlesbrough. And they revealed that we'd reportedly entered talks with Sheffield United. Now, Oliver Burke, from what I first remember of him, starting on that right wing for Nottingham Forest, burst onto the scene. I remember him playing against us under Karanka, and he ran us ragged. He's obviously had a string of moves since then. He got his big move to Leipzig, and it didn't really work out. he's at Sheffield United now, and yeah, I'm just going to let you talk about what you think about Burke, because you've already let me know how you feel about this one.
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's a bit of a strange one because in his career so far, you've just alluded to him being at Nottingham Forest there, playing against us, and he
Yeah.
ran us ragged. He played wide early in his career, and being such a tall, I think he's about 6'2", so he's a tall lad and quite a unit himself, but he's got bags of pace, I think. So him now being more of a centre forward for West Brom in previous years and now Sheffield United, I just can't see why we'd be going for him, really. I think he's certainly not prolific at all. I think he may have only scored 1 or 2 goals for Sheffield United, and he's been there for about 2 seasons.
He did score against Man United last season, I think, didn't he? Yeah,
he did, and so did Kean Bryan in that game as well, which we've been linked with as well.
Yeah, he hasn't found a club yet, so maybe he might be another name that crops up tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Burke is not someone that you want to see in Middlesbrough shirt.
Not really. From what I've seen from both West Brom fans and Sheffield United fans, they don't rate him at all. They think he's not great at all, and yeah, that's sold me that he's not a good footballer.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that playing devil's advocate, I've got to really, but you know, we've seen Dyke stealing Bowler when Neil Warnock first came into the club. I don't think any Middlesbrough fan realistically would have said that. You'd probably say either of them play another game for Middlesbrough, but I mean, look what he's done to both of them, and they were short of confidence and really struggling, and he's brought the best out of them. So perhaps it may happen. It may be a real stretch, and me just trying to be optimistic. But you know, we never know with these types of deals. It may be Warnock that gets the best out of them after all those years.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I would hope that if we do sign Oliver Burke, that everything works out and he bangs in 20 for us. But it's
I
not.
Can't see it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
I can't see it.
Yeah, can't see it exactly. I mean, we don't have our best luck with strikers of any kind. So one that's definitely not prolific in the Championship or in the Premier League, where he has been in recent years. Yeah, it's not. I'm not holding out much hope.
Yeah. Now on to outgoings. Well, I mean, we've just spoke about Oliver Burke, and of course tonight, at the time of recording, just before we actually started recording, it's been reported from the Athletic that potentially, and surprisingly, there I go again, Nathan. Honestly, that Sam Morsy may be included in a deal for Burke tomorrow. Now, the initial reports of Morsy potentially being available come out yesterday, really, which was Sunday, and there was an interest from Ipswich and obviously his ex-manager Paul Cook, and that deal probably isn't looking like it's going to happen. But today there's been reported Championship interest, and really, do you think that Sam Morsy? I mean, it's quite a shocking one, really. Up until the last 2 days, I don't think anyone would have expected it. But do you think that it could happen? Do you think that really can we afford to lose Sam Morsy?
It's a strange one. I think Morsy himself provides a good option for us in that midfield. He's played in defensive midfield. I think he's probably one of the better defensive midfielders in the division, and he's been one of the better performers in that role in recent years in the division from his time at Wigan and of course now with us. But for me, if we are bringing in Saliki, which reports are saying it is possible that this is going to happen, I think Morsy is probably the most disposable midfielder that we have, that we would be trying to get rid of, really.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Howson was excellent at the weekend, and I think it's clear to see really that Johnny Howson is more often than not going to be the first name on the team sheet for Neil Warnock. So I think, as you say, Morsey has obviously been a good servant for us, and in his short time has never really put a foot wrong. There's been the occasional red card, of course, but that's just in his nature, I suppose, the way he plays. But yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise to see the reports, but we're yet to see how that may develop. I guess it really just depends, like you say, on Saliki coming through the door and potentially replacing him.
Yeah, and I think going on to Marcy as well, and him possibly going out the door. Of course, Howson is his direct rival in that position, really. But Howson, what something he has over Marcy is just versatility, really. He's played in a variety of different roles for us, from centre back to right wing back, and of course in central midfield. So versatility is something that Howson has over Sam Marcy, which I think is looked at as well.
Yeah, and moving on to another departure, it looks like young Nathan Wood is going to be going out on loan to Hibernian. Now, for me, I think this is actually a very, very good deal for both parties. I think, obviously, with the addition of Saul Bamba, his first-team opportunities are going to be quite limited, really. And I think Nathan Wood, obviously, he went out on loan to Crewe at the back end of last season. And I just think that for Nathan Wood's development, going and playing in the SPL and going up against some really good strikers in that league, obviously Alfredo Morelos, and to name one,
Odsonne Edouard.
But yeah, Odsonne Edouard. Now we don't know what's going to happen with him either. But yeah, Kyogo from Celtic, who's just signed to them. Obviously, he's been really highlighted for how good his movement is. There's a lot of different challenges, obviously physically in that league, especially. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on, and I think that one's nearly done. So, are you happy to see Nathan Wood go out on loan to the Scottish League?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a good move for him. I remember his debut. I think it weren't his debut. He came off the bench in a game against Birmingham, and he was tussling with Lukas Jukovic. And for a lad who's only my age, is quite a feat, really, considering the size of Lukas Jukovic. So yeah, I think he will be able to deal with the physical aspects up in Scotland. He is built very physically, and of course he has that turn of pace as well. So yeah, I think it is a very good move for him, and it'll be good for him to go out there and get some experience.
Yeah, of course the last departure this week, we spoke about it last week briefly, but Chuba Akpom confirmed back to Greece, back on loan from where we signed him from, PAOK. Is that the right pronunciation, or PAOK?
I guess so.
I'll say both, and just hopefully someone will correct me on that. But yeah, back to Greece, we'll just say. Now, I don't think it was really a surprise to see him leave. Neil Warnock has been very clear this summer that he was just not going to play.
Yeah, it is a strange one, of course, looking at why he came off the bench in that QPR game if Warnock did not fancy him at all.
There's a lot of questions about that decision.
Yeah, very strange. And of course, it is only a loan deal for now, which is a bit of a strange one as well, considering there were reports of a £2 million bid being rejected. I can't remember who it was from.
I think it was Galatasaray, I want to say.
Oh, yeah, I'd seen Panathinaikos, Galatasaray.
Yeah, there was a lot of clubs.
A lot of Turkish clubs and Greek clubs, yeah. So, yeah, I think fair play. Good luck to Chuba. As we said in previous weeks, it just hasn't worked out here, which it's just one of them things, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that really wraps it up for transfers, really. Now, obviously, we should say again that this may go out tonight. It may come out tomorrow morning, but obviously things may change on the hour. We're approaching deadline day. It's crazy season, really. But yeah, just in case anyone listening or watching is thinking, well, hang on, they're not a little bit behind on what's actually happening. But yeah, we're hoping to actually just quickly, I should mention, to do a roundup of the whole transfer window at some point this week. So we'll go into depth in transfers a little bit more then, and hopefully we'll be discussing a lot of the incomings that no one expected. But yeah, moving on again. After the game, we put out to get some reaction and assumptions from you that follow us on Twitter. Firstly, I picked out one from Craig Miller, and he said, still short, but hopefully next few days we'll put that right. Need goals that turn draws into wins. Just 2 more goals and we could have been in the top 6, and there would be a few less wet beds amongst Borough fans. Now, I like this optimism from Craig, to be honest. I like, just a few more goals and we could have been in that top 6 and everyone wouldn't have been, not downbeat, but just more optimistic. Yeah, I quite like where Craig was going at from that point that he left.
Yeah, I think he's bang on, really. Looking at the games, Derby, the game's there for the taking. We did have a fair few chances in that game, with Crooks nodding one off the bar and a few other chances. And then the QPR game, I'd seen something saying about QPR banged in 3 against us and their expected goals for something like 0.5, which was quite astounding, really, how they banged in 3 against us. But yeah, that was a strange game, also, which we could have won. It could have gone anywhere, that game against QPR. And then, of course, Fulham, we did nick a point. We could have nicked a winner with Tavernier having a good chance towards the end of that game. And then, of course, this weekend, where it seems like we were on top. So we have had a very strange start to the season, really, I think, where you look at things and you think, well, we don't look bad. We don't look
amazing,
unbelievable. We're just okay, and we're not too far off being a very decent side in this division.
Yeah, I think that judgment probably echoes my thoughts, really. I think it's clear to see, for me and for a lot of Middlesbrough fans, that we're crying out for new signings and a bit of depth. And obviously, hopefully that is achieved on deadline day. But yeah, I think at the moment there is really signs to be optimistic, but obviously the results haven't really backed that up. So I just think we used the word quite a lot last week, talking about Martin Piero, but just a little bit of patience. I think, obviously, Arnell Hernandez was our 10th incoming at the weekend, and hopefully there's going to be more. And with any team, a lot of incomings, 10, and talking about more again, it's a case of gelling, and hopefully, obviously, it'll click and we will put a run of wins together, similarly to how we did really last season. I think it was at one point 12 unbeaten that we went. So fingers crossed we can put a run like that together again and shoot up that table.
Yeah, as you say, it's just all about patience, really. 10 summer signings is quite a number, really. And those players do need time to be gelled into that squad, get used to how we play. And yeah, I think, the key word is patience.
Yeah, so another assumption that we had left on Twitter was from Noah, and he said it's been massively understated how many players we need. Realistically, we need 5 or 6 more, and we're not getting that. It could be a very long season now. A slightly more negative view from Noah there. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but do you think that perhaps he could be right on the point that we do need more players and it is understated how many potentially we need to bring in?
Yeah, I think we do need players in. It is really a case of finding players that can fit in and offer us some depth in key areas. We certainly need a left-sided defender through the incomings, and I think we do need some more options up front. Of course, Sparrow looks to be one of those, and hopefully Burke could be another option as well. So yeah,
I'm just thinking now, just totally taking you off topic now. there's always one random deadline day signing or rumour. And I'm just thinking to myself now, what is your prediction for that random? And it shuts at 11 o'clock. So I'm going to say about 3 o'clock, maybe 2:30. Who do you think is going to be that random name that crops up?
Well,
And it's going to be a striker. I can feel it. It's going to be a striker. But who do you think it is? Because I thought Troy Deeney, but it looks like he's going to Birmingham.
Birmingham, yeah.
Yeah. So who do you think that name's going to be?
Do you want to know what would be a funny one that I think could come up? Ashley Fletcher on loan.
Fletch back. I'm not sure if Neil Warnock would really accept, even if he was offered, to be honest.
No, I know, but yeah, I mean, anything can happen on a deadline day. I mean, in January, there was no mention of Neeskens Cabano till about 20-9 on the night, and we signed him at just after 11. So
yeah,
who knows what can happen?
Who knows exactly what? I mean, what a deadline day is. It often ends in disappointment for us, but hopefully we'll be tweeting out some good news tomorrow night that, I don't know, maybe it's Diego Costa, the mystery European striker, might have signed it at the last minute. So yeah, we'll wait to see how that pans out. Yeah,
he's come back to Brazil, unfortunately.
Is that being confirmed? Has it?
It's been confirmed. He's signed for Athletic Mineiro, and he's up front with Hulk.
Right. Well, I mean that's
disgusting.
Yeah, that is. I'm actually a little bit let down, to be honest, because I mean there was still that glimmer that he was going to be the mystery man from Europe, but it's not.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be Andy Carroll coming off his holiday from Mykonos instead.
Yeah. I think that is the European. Just the thought of it, you've made me lose my pit. I don't know. I'm just imagining Andy Carroll getting announced at 11 o'clock tomorrow. It's a real head in hands one, to be honest. But yeah, mate, you've thrown me off there, to be honest. The thought of Andy Carroll is something that terrifies me, really.
In a red shirt, big man, little man with Uchi up front.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we need to move on because I think the podcast could just completely go if we'd mention that the big man's name anymore. And I'm not referring to Uchi. I'm referring to the ex-Newcastle man with that head of hair that is questionable, to say the least. So another assumption that we got left was from Nick Beale, and he said, so far not seen much real progress from last season. Big last few days of the transfer window. Now, it sticks to the same theme of the transfer window, but do you agree that there hasn't been many signs of progress? Now, for me, I personally disagree a little bit. I do think there is a clear sign of progress so far, but yeah, I'll ask you what your thoughts on that are.
Yeah, I think it is a bit of a strange one, but yeah, we just need to find a way of scoring goals. That's our issue at the moment, I think. We just struggle to finish off the chances that we do create in that final third. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think as I've said previously, it's all about getting the bodies in, and obviously it hasn't worked out as quick as what we may have hoped for at the start of the window. And Neil Warnock would have been hoping to have a lot more options coming off the bench in the opening games. But I think the international break is going to give us hopefully a lot of time to bed in new signings. And I think, although I do think that we've made a sign of progress so far, I think it'll be more judgeable, should we say, in the next 5 or 6 games. You know, when you start getting to 10, 11, 12 games into the season, I think then I'll reserve my real judgment on whether we've made any progress at that point.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where you look at November, December time and you think, well, are we on track to where the fans kind of expect you to finish, really? And last season, I think we were achieving a bit more than that, weren't we, really? So yeah, maybe we just haven't got off to as quick as a start as we did last year. So that's maybe clouding Nick's judgment a little bit.
Yeah, well, once again, thank you for your Twitter questions and assumptions. It's always good to get a variety of different opinions. So, moving on, and now we are going into the international break, and it's 2 weeks away. Obviously, we're going to have some videos out before then during the international break, and as I say, the transfer window roundup, we could potentially cover it then, or just do more of a preview towards Coventry and the midweek game. I think it's Nottingham Forest after the Coventry game.
Forest
Close at the time, but just looking ahead to the Coventry game, just briefly, few players to watch out for that we sort of marked from Coventry's good start, to be fair, to the season so far. Callum O'Hare, a creative number 10 now. Not only is he a good player, but also he is the absolute double of a younger Jack Grealish, the way he wears his socks and his hairstyle, to be honest. So I'm not sure. I think he may have been at Villa when Grealish was there, so perhaps he's just took a little bit too much inspiration off Jack Grealish.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves a bit of Jack Grealish, don't they? I mean, apart from the crowd at Leeds Festival the other day, who gave him a bit of stick when he came on the stage during Stormzy's performance, he did get a bit of stick. But of course, you were going to with being in Leeds and Man City.
Yeah,
it's still strange to think
to
about
be
Jack Grealish at City.
Yeah, I must say, I seen a tweet the other day saying it still doesn't look right when you watch Match of the Day that he's in a Man City kit. I think that's going to take quite a few months for me to get used to. It just doesn't look right, does it?
Very, very strange. I'm used to seeing him in claret diving all over that pitch and doing opposition fans' heads in.
Yeah, exactly. But on to Callum O'Hare, which went off on a little tangent about Jack Grealish there. But yeah, they're very similar players, to be fair. Probably not on this same scale just yet. Dear me, Nathan. The sooner this is up and uploaded, the better, really, for my yeah, O'Hare, a creative number 10. And I've seen a lot of Middlesbrough fans say that they would potentially like us to try and sign him in a later transfer window over the next couple of years. But yeah, have you been impressed with Callum O'Hare this season?
Yeah, I think he's a little bit similar to QPR's Ilias Chair in his stature. They're both quite small, nippy players, like to get on the ball, drive forward and create things. He looks like a very decent player for Coventry and has been in recent years. Yeah,
and another man, you've previously mentioned him, talking about Martin Waghorn. Now, Martin Waghorn nearly signed for Middlesbrough, of course, that window a few years back where he ended up going to Derby. But for me, Martin Waghorn just seems like one of those players. And to be honest, I don't even think his stats are that great, but I just always feel like he scores against us. And that could be completely wrong, but in my head, I feel like Martin Waghorn, even if he doesn't score, has a great game against Middlesbrough every time he plays against us.
It's just one of those names that you look at, and he's probably not the most prolific Championship player, but you just look at him and you just think, he's just going to have a worldie against Borough this weekend.
I think it was a good signing for Coventry, to be honest.
Yeah, shrewd. I mean, he was on a free transfer after, I think his contract did expire at Derby. And of course, he did keep Derby up last season on the final day with his 2 goals. So yeah, it looks like a good signing for them. But my main player that I'd look out for at Coventry is Gustavo Hamer. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's actually really sort of what we've seen of Piero from highlights, quite similar actually in terms of he's, South American, very tough tackling, likes to get involved, likes to put himself about, and a little bit of a set piece specialist and someone that doesn't mind shooting from range as well. So yeah, I think maybe if Piero ever gets a chance on the pitch, then we could have our own Hamer. But yeah, as you say, Gus Hamer is so far again looked brilliant for Coventry this season and someone that we'll definitely have to look out for.
Yeah, and he doesn't mind a long range shot with his head either after lobbing the cycling GK last year.
What a header that is, by the way. I still can't believe he scored a header from that range, to be honest.
Outrageous. 25-yard header.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really see that too often, do you? And also, for anyone that likes a gamble, I mean, I'm not sure if we should be promoting it, but back last season, now I go to university with a Coventry fan, and he said at the start of the season, after watching pre-season last year, yellow cards on Gus Hamer are absurd. Now, I think his discipline record it's been slightly cleaned up, but perhaps, I'm not forcing anyone into anything, but maybe it's worth a few quid on a Gus Hamer yellow card.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well with Coventry, you can back them for a bloody 90 plus 10-minute goal. I think that's becoming quite a regular occurrence at the Rico this season.
Yeah, back at the Rico, as you say, it's obviously great to see Coventry back in the Rico arena. And all of a sudden, just that stadium's turned into the late winners show, really.
It's like Borough 2015-16 regen at the Coventry Building Society Arena, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've done really well to get those winners, and it just proves that they keep going till the last minute. So there's no letting up from that Coventry side.
Yeah, and obviously, as you say, they're back at the Rico, and they've had a good start. They've won 3 out of the 5 games and sitting on 9 points, which is obviously a better points tally than us so far. And I think again, just it's going to be a difficult away game. There's never an easy away game. But what are your sort of predictions and hopes? What do you think we can go to Coventry and hope for?
Well, going to Coventry, it's a strange one. They do set up in that back 5/3. So they will be difficult to break down, really. It'll be interesting to see whether we continue with a 3 or a 4. So I'm expecting a good game going there. They do like to knock the ball about and play some good football. So a good game, hopefully.
Yeah, a good game, hopefully. And in terms of personnel, fingers crossed, we've got 4 new players. I don't know, maybe I'm being slightly too optimistic. 3 new players, 1 new player, I don't know. Yeah, a player that hasn't previously played for us to potentially pull on the red shirt. Could that be Andras Spara? Would you be tempted to throw him in if the deal gets done?
Yeah, I'd love nothing more than for Arnell Hernandez to put one on Spara's head for a winner. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
It would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think speaking previously to you as well, it's a game that we're both going to try and attend. So, hopefully that is the curse broken, and we'll go to a game and we'll both be there and we'll get the 3 points. Maybe the secret to it.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, Nathan. Yeah. Now, I think that is us done, to be honest, for this episode. As I say, just want to re-emphasise, it is entirely Nathan's fault that this may be up late slightly. So if it's up on Tuesday morning or if it's up late on Monday night, if you're watching this or if you're listening, then blame Nathan. But we will be getting some content out for the end of the transfer window and hopefully a bit of a preview for Coventry and the Forest games coming up after the international break again. So yes, as I say, thanks very much for watching us on YouTube, on the audio platforms. Nathan, I have been told once again that it helps us if we get a 5-star review and a little nice couple of words on Apple Podcasts. So make sure to do that as well. And thanks for your support on the last episode. It performed quite well, actually. Maybe it was Neil Warnock's strange comments. But yes, thanks for your support. Give us a like, comment, tweet us, all those sorts of things. And thanks for joining us again. We'll see you soon, hopefully.